What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another live stream. And today we're going to get right into it. I'm going to show you guys how to color grade, or better yet, I'm going to show you guys how to do a simple color grade for raw S-Log3. And honestly, you could use this method, simple method, to for any raw footage, really, whether it be Canons or whatever, Blackmagic, to color grade quickly. And you don't have to go into the cinematic outputs or anything like that. It's just more to bring the colors to life. Now, as you guys can see up on my screen, I have myself, and it is a raw video of this guy, doing that. And I'm going to stop it right there, so that way you know exactly what to see. And obviously it looks kind of like a dreamy, hazy video, but it's I have a Cinebloom right in front of the as a filter on the camera, so that's where you see that coming from, right? So it's not part of the grade or anything. Now, I've been kind of reluctant to do these color grades because everybody has their own taste, everybody has their way of doing it, so it's very easy to say you can't do this, can't do that. But I'm like, you know what? Let me just do a really simple one, something that anybody could do. It's just a few things you kind of have to like look over, and then you could just go on in and put it as that to and still make it look really fantastic, even though it's very simple. And you know me, I love anything that makes my workflow super simple and straight to straight out. Like, I shoot something, I want to edit it and spend as little time as I can, but still not sacrificing the quality and still get it out there. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So what we're going to start with is I'm going to go ahead and open up I'm going to go to my Windows. I'm going to go to my Lumetri scopes. And I'm actually going to put this guy out. I'm going to undock panel. Let's put it in this section right here. And I have a few things that I'm going to explain in just a bit. All right, so I have three different ones. So I have a parade, waveform, and a vector scope, right? This will kind of show me where the color is, where it's leaning to. As you see right here, it's more for like the orange in between the yellow and red. And then I have right here the red, green, and blues, and I have over here the other one. All right. And that one is just more of like kind of showing how dark it is or how light a scene is. As you can see here, right? So it's kind of compressed because it's raw. So this is what we're going to start with. I'm not going to add anything on it that's too complicated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by using an adjustment layer. So I'm not going to put anything directly on the clip itself. That way, if I want to just delete and start from zero, I can go ahead and do that and not damage anything. So I'm going to start with an adjustment layer. So let me go to my project, and I have one right here. So I'm going to drop that right on top of the clip. Okay, I'm going to highlight the clip, and I'm going to go back to my Lumetri scopes. All right, and Lumetri scopes are awesome because let's say that this screen isn't calibrated. What do I know what white is? Like, maybe I have a yellow light, tungsten light, that's making my shirt look like it's a little bit yellow, but in reality, in the picture or in the video, it's actually not yellow, or it's actually something completely different. Then I'm going to start changing all these colors based on a wrong sense of color of white, right? So that's where these come in. They show you exactly how exposed it is and what the real true white is and all that, what colors you're leaning more towards without going off of just your naked eye, okay? So again, let's start it real quick. We're going to go straight to the adjustment layer, and we are going to, as you can see with the raw footage, there's no contrast to it, so we're going to go ahead and start doing that. Okay, so I'm going to add some contrast to it. And again, this is just the way of me doing it quickly. This is by no means a, you have to do it this way. You do it your own way, however you see fit. But I'm going to start it this way. Cool. All right, so I'm going to mark my 3 dots on the S curve, and this is the RGB curve. More like the tone curve, really. Okay. And then I'm going to start with my shadows, just bring in some contrast in there, right? So I'm going to bring in, now, if you look at the picture, it's really going in there, right? And if you notice on the Lumetri scopes, the RGB waveforms are starting to pull a little bit more down. So the closer you are to 0, the more you're crushing those blacks. All right, so we're gonna start. You just leave it like right there. My midtones, I'm just gonna bring them up a tad and take a look at the lumetri scopes and the picture at the same time. They're going up, right? There we go. So we're kind of spreading those colors out. And then on the highlights, which is that third one that we did, that right line, we're going to come up just a tad. Nothing too crazy. Just bring that up there. And then now, let's take a look at what we just did. So I'm going to toggle on and off on that adjustment layer. And just by us changing the tone a little bit with the curve. Look at that. Look at the raw picture. On, off, on. That's just us using the contrast or bringing contrast back in using the curve. That's it. There was nothing else. And if you're happy with that, you could go ahead and bring that in there. It's all good. You know what I mean? So we're going to start with where I leave it at that, kind of like very, very simple. And then we're going to go in and do another step, which is I'm going to go to the basic correction on the lumetri color panel. And let's say, for example, I know my shirt is white. So what am I going to base my white color, my true white to? So I'm going to use the white balance on this dropper right here. And I'm going to tell it that my shirt is the white that I want you to go off of the whole image. All right. So again, adjustment layer is highlighted. I'm going to use the dropper on the white. Boom. Take a look at that. All right. Now I'm going to undo that. Hold on 1 second. There we go. All right. And that was just me using the dropper, telling it what's white and what's not. All right. So as you can see, my shirt looks a little yellow. But now look at that. I'm going to do it one more time. Boom. Just brings that in right there. Makes that white a little bit whiter. Takes that yellow off of that. And in contrast, since I know that that's white, it kind of fixes everything else color-wise really quickly on the picture, right? You can see the temperature went a little bit more cooler towards the blues. The tint went a little bit towards the magentas. The cyan. Actually, that's not cyan. But the magenta, yeah. All right, cool. Now here, I could kind of fix it a little bit as far as the exposure, the contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, and blacks. I'm going to go into that, right? So I could see that the exposure is a little bit down. As you can see, remember how we were crushing the blacks and the RGB panels were going a little bit down. So I'm going to go and let me actually bring this up so everybody on. There we go. Let me bring that like that so you guys, social media and the vertical, can see the lumetri scopes. All right, so what I'm going to do is instead of crushing I'm not going to crush the blacks. Instead of pulling the shadows, I'm going to bring up the lighting in the picture overall. And I'm just going to do a little bit of exposure right there. So let me bring it up. I usually like to do this last, but let's just bring it up. Again, we want to do this quickly. So I'm just going to bring it to like a 0.5. Let's not get insane. Bring it to a 0.5. And then I'm going to bring up the shadows just a touch. Nothing crazy. I see off of my head, a little bit of the lighting, the highlights, but that's just my head. Maybe I had a little bit of extra lotion on, whatever. So let me bring that down just a tad bit on that. Boom. Roll off, and that's it. All right. Again, adjustment layer. Let's toggle it on and off. Take a look at the picture. Is off, on, off, on. Simple as that. That's all I did. I didn't go to any other panels. I just used the tone curve and then just kind of adjusted the light exposure a little bit, the light, and then just white balanced it. That's why it's always kind of cool to have something white within the picture whenever you're filming, so you know that that's the true white. And in case you want to go in a flash and fix all the whites within that picture, you can go ahead and do that and have like a true color. And that's basically it. I could go on and do a couple different things. Let me just do one more thing to kind of just bring up a little bit. And again, this is optional. You don't have to do this. I'm going to close the basic correction. I'm going to go to the I didn't even open up the HSL secondary. None of that. Color wheels, none of that. Again, we're keeping it super simple. So I'm going to go to the creative panel right underneath the basic correction. And what I'm going to do, you're going to see intensity. That's, if you had like a LUT in there and how intense you want it to be, more intense or less. But for this, we are going to do two things, all right? The vibrance and the saturation. Again, this is purely optional. You don't have to do this. We could go as is right now. So what I like to do is the saturation, just bring it down just a tad. So it's at 100%. I'm going to bring it down to like a 90.3, 90. And I'm going to bring up the vibrance to like a 15. All right. And you can say that didn't do much, but sometimes the colors, I feel like they're too saturated for my taste. So I just like to bring down the saturation, but then I'll bring up the vibrance, and you're going to say, wait a minute, doesn't that cancel it out? Not really. The vibrance, the good thing about the vibrance is, or the special thing, is that it'll bring up all the colors that's not skin tones, all right? And I love it because of that. Again, I'm gonna bring this down to 0 because I don't think it's necessary on this one. The saturation, actually, I don't even think it's necessary on this. Maybe a bring it down to like a 95, something like that. Again, the more you do this, the more you'll develop your own style. So it's always good to know what happens on the back end instead of just planting a LUT there. All right, cool. Let's actually do one last thing, and this is the final thing, I promise. Nothing else. We're going to go back and open up the curves, and we're going to scroll down, and we're going to go underneath where it says RGB curves. So we're going to pass the tone curve, and we're going to stop, and you're going to see there's going to be a bunch of different ones called hue. These are the hue saturation curves: hue versus saturation, hue versus hue, hue versus luma, luma versus sat. I'm not going to go into exactly what they all do. If you guys want me to on another video, I can. But for the sake of this one, again, this is optional thing that you could do. Number 2, underneath the tone curve, we're going to go to hue versus sat, right? And we're going to see this little dropper right next to the check mark. And what we're going to do, and what I like to do, is to really hone down in on the skin tones. What I'm going to do is press the dropper and then go on my skin tone right in the middle. Boom. And then what it did, as you could tell on the Lumetri panel, is on this hue line right in the middle, it gave me 3 dots right around the kind of like magenta, red, orange, and yellow, right? So I'm going to move the dot in the middle, and so it's hue versus sat, right? So that's the hue line, and the saturation is going to be whether I pull it up, the more saturated, and then down, the less saturated it's going to be. So what I'm going to do is actually pull it down just a tad, and look, it's pulling down on my skin color, so it looks like, I didn't get a tan or anything, right? And let's say if I wanted to bring it up just a tad, a little bit higher, it's just going to bring in more of that saturation in. Looks a little bit less natural, right? And then also, since most skin tones are going more towards the red, I'm just going to bring it in just a tad in that red. It's kind of give me that blush, kind of like when, you put on makeup and you put a little blush in your cheeks to kind of give you that life. That's what this did. And if you want to go and check how it looks like without it or with it, you're going to uncheck that box, on and off right there. Boom. And we'll do it at that. And honestly, I really like the way it was before, so I'm just going to keep it as that right there. And that's basically it. I could show you the other scopes, Lumetri scopes, and how they all work. We could do that in a different video, but this is how to color grade, do a simple color grade for raw footage, more specifically S-Log3. And let's look at it on and off. So off, and that's what we started with, and this is what it looks like after, right there. Simple as that. A couple of clicks and you're all good to go. And obviously, the more you do it, the better you become at it, and the more you develop your own style. So that's it. Let me know if you liked this video, if anything helped you out, or if you are using any of this on your